I know there's many different approaches to using legacy data, and I wish you could give some different approaches to utilizing legacy data. So, for example, connecting to a database, or searching, or periodic synchronization. If you could sort of talk a little bit to give us a better understanding of how you can use legacy data in your web experience management application, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So I think one of the common problem with our customer is how you actually use or mix data from legacy systems like databases into the CMS itself or our WEM solution. So there's actually different approaches depending on the use case. So what I can actually do now is actually go through some of them and probably talk about when you actually use which approach, right? So if you actually look at a lot of systems in the enterprise itself, that a lot of them are actually stored in databases, and how you actually access them is either through JDBC or through web services. So if you actually look at this diagram, we actually have legacy data. So the legacy data may be data that is probably your flight information or your product data or whatever data that you want to present it to your customer front end via CMS solution. So if you have to look at this, we actually have our WEM, our Web Experience Management product. Okay, so basically this allows you to present data into different channels like the web, like the mobile, right, or I don't know, kiosk, right. So one of the good thing about the WEM is it actually allows you to have a single interface to actually present it, but then you also want data in the legacy to be part of the web itself. So how do we actually get this data and put it as part of a web page? So there's actually different approaches. So the first approach that we can do is, of course, to build component, or what we call component in our WEM. Okay, and actually this component can actually read the data via the traditional mechanism, which is either JDBC or web services. Right, so when we actually do this, so in this component itself, what we actually then expose out to the content author is like UI interfaces, like for example labels, right, or some configuration that you can actually do. So the content author now can actually do simple configuration, but then the data still need to actually go back to your legacy system via JDBC or web services. So when do you actually use that? So one of the considerations when you actually use that is probably the data in the legacy is still a transactional data, like for example booking engine, so you want to retrieve some data from there. And of course then this data is also managed real time, right, by another system, like for example your ERP system. So you want to actually read data up to time that is actually managed by another legacy system itself. So in this manner, probably a JDBC or web service call is actually more appropriate. So that's also another approach. So another approach is something similar, right? But then you do not actually need it to be real time. So some of the thing is, like for example, if you have things like a product catalog, or maybe you are like a TV schedule, right? So normally if you talk about like a TV station, their schedule is updated every like 1 day. So for those, you don't really need to have a real time read. So what we can do in those cases is, instead of doing real time data read, what we actually do is we can actually set up what we call a scheduler, okay, that will periodically draw this data and store it into the JCR, the repository itself. And then in this component itself, okay, we can actually just read it from the JCR. So one of the benefits of this is it allows us to have a better or faster approach or more efficient way of reading the data. And then you can also store this data into a hierarchical manner, which is optimized for presentation, okay, in the WEM itself, or optimized for presentation in JCR. Right. So how do we actually do this scheduler? So in Apache Sling, which is one of the framework itself, we actually have the scheduler service. So what you can actually do is to develop a scheduler process that you can actually configure to run every 1 hour or a day, so that you can actually go to the legacy system using JDBC or your web service and draw the data and then populate your JCR. So once you actually populate your JCR, the team that actually develop the application will just need to do JCR API call, which is the normal WAM or the VM call anyway. Right, so we also have a third approach. So when we actually talk about the third approach, is more of a major revamp of the system itself. So when we actually use that is, for example, you don't actually have an external legacy system that actually manages the data, but your data currently is stored in database. Right, so you actually don't have this part. So one of the reasons why you actually currently store data in database is because you're actually using traditional system prior to migration or making use of our newer architect WEM solution. So when we actually do that, one of the reasons why you use database is because traditionally you have your JSPs or your ASPX or whatever that actually reads data, and those are actually what we call application driven approach. So you always need to store data in databases. So instead of doing that, we can actually just throw away database and store all this data to be managed on the WEM itself. Right. So in one of our previous sessions, we actually talked about how we actually structure data in a hierarchical manner in CQ. So why do we actually do that? So one of the good things about storing in WEM is we actually allow our content author to manage or have a lot of functionality that they don't actually usually get when they actually do it or manage it by a database. So one of them is actually translation. So if you want to do translation, for example, using a database approach, you actually need to create a lot of very complicated schema, right? But if you actually store those data into the WEM itself, you can actually make use of our WEM translation services or our multi-site manager to actually manage them. So another thing is of course versioning. So if you actually do a database, you can't really do versioning of the box. You need to develop very complicated schema as well to do versioning. So with that, you can actually use it this way. The other thing that you don't get in database is workflow, right? Database, how do you actually get workflow? So if you really want to have all those functionality in a database approach, you really need to build very complicated application flow, which is very different from the way people manage the data in our WEM and the application. So what you may end up in is you may have an admin interface, okay, that you actually build it, custom build, and then you have an interface in WEM. So it actually makes life difficult for both the developer and your content author. But then if you actually throw away this database and store the data in the WEM itself, you have all the benefit of the versioning, the workflow, multi-site translation, and then of course you also have a singular standard interface for managing them. Right. Do you have any other question that you?
No, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.